Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq, with daily insight on the Nasdaq-100 index, or the NDX, which is made up of 100 of the largest domestic and international non-financial innovative companies listed on the Nasdaq stock market. The NDX has been the barometer for U.S. large cap growth and also one of the best performing indexes over the last decade and a half, not to mention one of the most liquid index ecosystems in the world. Joining me this Tuesday afternoon, we have Shawn, Cruz, Manager of Trader Services at TD Ameritrade, to discuss Nasdaq-100 and Nasdaq-100 volatility index levels to watch, as some of the larger constituents appear to be stabilizing a bit. Shawn, Happy New Year. It's great to see you as always. And let's take a look at those fresh levels that you're looking at in the Nasdaq-100 and Vol Q.
Yeah, so looking at just the Nasdaq-100, we can start there. I'm following that 20-day moving average that's actually served as support here a couple of times over the past few weeks. So I think that is one area to watch. We actually went down and tested that level today. So if you want to know where that's at, right at 12,659, 12,660 is really where that 20-day moving average is at. It held earlier in today's session. I think that's a good sign. The other thing I'm looking at is Vol Q, and that is sort of that uncertainty or fear type index that uses implied volatility based off Nasdaq 100 components. It's actually bouncing off what has been a previous resistance level. I think that's actually a good sign. And I was actually looking at the rate of change, and we sort of see this where when it's bouncing back and forth, sort of this range-bound fashion, you see the rate of change start to level off and almost turn back around here. So I think that's going to be another thing to watch in Vol Q, just seeing if we can stay below that 27, 25, anything below 27. If we can move back lower down towards 23 or 22, I think that might be a sign that we're ready to maybe make another leg higher in the overall index.
All right, let's take a look at some of the constituents that have a bigger weighting than Nasdaq 100 and can really move the index around a bit. Let's start with Apple.
Yeah, so whenever I look at these names, I like to sometimes just go back and look at price action or look at volume after their most previous earnings report. And the reason why is you get a lot of fresh information in there. That's when you hear from management. That's when analysts come out and update their models. Sort of when the market resets expectations based off what the company is saying. So looking at Apple, it's actually been in sort of a steady uptrend channel. A few pullbacks here, had a slight pullback at the end of November, and we're actually getting a little bit of a pullback now. So some of the price levels I'm watching for Apple, if it does continue to go down and test the bottom end of this channel, you're going to see it right around 126.30 as an area to watch. However, if it can recover and maybe just move back towards the center of that channel, you should probably see it up around 133. So I'm going to be watching Apple to see, one, if it does continue to pull back, does the bottom end of that channel hold? Or if it does reverse, does it sort of reverse and then maybe just go back towards that 133 level and maybe start trending sideways here until we maybe get a better sign of which way equities are going to break.
Right, and you're also taking a look at Microsoft and Amazon as well.
I did, and whenever I look at some of the major indices, especially something like the Nasdaq 100, I just like to look at some of the bigger components, especially just the size of some of these massive tech companies. And Microsoft and Amazon, two very big companies in the Nasdaq 100, are starting to show sort of the similar behavior in terms of volume levels. And I think that maybe can act as a sort of stability maybe for the index overall, at least maybe dampen some of those moves. So starting at Amazon, I'm starting to look at Amazon here, and at Amazon, I'm seeing a lot of volume building up around this 3,188 level, which is where it's trading at right now. So it's going to be interesting to see if this high volume price level that we're at sort of gives us that choppy back and forth. You don't have the sellers overwhelming buyers, you don't have buyers overwhelming sellers. Maybe that can be a little bit of a stabilizing factor here. For Microsoft, seeing very similar activity, trading around that 214, 216 level, another peak in volume since the last time they've reported earnings. I think that's going to be interesting to see if we can consolidate here. And even if we consolidate here, we don't necessarily need a move higher to potentially see that Vol Q pull back. If you just start to see the underlying components become less volatile, start trending sideways, start stabilizing, that could be something that can affect that implied volatility, that forward-looking volatility number moving forward. So I am going to be watching a lot of these big components to see if we get some sort of a stabilization, if some of these key levels can hold, be it a key volume level or a key price level, see if that can hold, and if maybe that can at least, if nothing else, stabilize us and get us ready for another leg higher here.
All right, Shawn, thanks for joining us on Trade Talks, and thanks for joining me. I'm Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq.